First story. Am I that bad for not wanting to be cheated on again? I don't know what to call her right now, but my heart is broken. Me and this girl had been dating for over 2 years. Before we started dating, she moved the relationship pretty fast because she really liked me and I wasn't on board yet because I didn't really know much about her, so I wanted to move slowly. She called me later that night drunk, red flag 1, saying she's sad and missed me. Later throughout the next about year and a half, we have a few fights about how she's acting around other men. She's reassuring me she's not doing anything behind my back. I find out the truth when we move in with each other. She's been flirting with dudes in front of me and behind my back plus a guy friend she texted every day despite telling me he's not a good person or friend to her. It turns out they had history, and she was texting him throughout that year and a half of us being together. And he was actively trying to break us up and telling her he loved her, and I asked her to block him. She told me after she blocked him she felt better but also bad that she blocked him, and I'm confused. Due to the circumstances I tried to be understanding, because what she told me he didn't do the best things to her during their friendship. During this same time she flirted with every guy in range. I'm being told she only has eyes for me, but her social media was full of guys, all are the same type of person, regardless age as well. I confronted her, and she lied about it multiple times, and it came out in this past December that she doesn't consider what she was doing cheating. I said that looking for men to googly eye while you're in a relationship is cheating. Trying to get them to notice you is cheating. She tells me looking at men isn't cheating, and I tell her it is. It goes on like this for a bit, and I tried to explain in every way that if I did the same thing with women she would feel the same way, and she told me that's true. Flash forward to today, we are on a break for circumstances so we haven't been living with each other. She told me she missed me and how much she's worked on herself with bad communication. She brought communication back in, asking how my day went, showing she cares. This time she comes over, it's intimate. She's my first and I've always given her every respect in this regard, so if she's uncomfortable in any way we stop immediately. She told me it was uncomfortable so we stopped and I held her to comfort her. I asked, did she need anything, and she just fell into my chest and she fell asleep. I'm under the impression it's previous trauma, so I'm trying to be there for her. She wakes up a bit and I just told her, and she tells me she has to go cause she has work in the morning. I understood, but I didn't want her to be alone. But I had fallen asleep when she got back to her break stay, and I felt horrible about it. I wanted to call, and she did too. Apparently last night she accidentally grabbed my keys. And I didn't know, and I had an interview. There was a small altercation where it looked like it was on purpose cause I put my keys away from hers, so I thought she grabbed them to come see me again. Well, from then on she was abrasive and angry and told me we're done and there's no reason to stay with me. Her mom asked what was her reasoning for staying with me, and she didn't have any, and she was mad and upset that the only good thing she saw was we didn't fight. She proceeded to come to the apartment to search for a gift I gave her for her past birthday and scream at me about how she didn't love me anymore and she doesn't care about me, I'm annoying, needy, etc. Apparently the bad thought she had when we were intimate was about me. She didn't feel anything towards me after telling me she loved me and then asking if I trusted her, and I said yes. She told me it was a test to see if she really did feel anything towards me still, and she didn't. She admitted she used me for it. I asked why all of a sudden she's telling me she fell out of love, and apparently I'm holding her back. I don't let her look at men and she's not okay with it. She told me I'm insecure and should feel like it's a good thing that of all the people that are her type she chose to be with me. It's just how her brain is wired. She can find people attractive and look at men and think about how hot or cute they are, and it's me being insecure and not trusting her to not act on any of her thoughts towards them. When I'm in a relationship, and she knew from the beginning because we agreed on what cheating is, she lied about this too, that looking for attention, Looking and googly eyeing people and flirting are considered cheating. If you're not showing the same towards your partner you are towards the people you're looking at, you're actively trying to hit on them. She would purposely look up TikToks of guys and just shift through thirst traps as I'm cooking or just enjoy company with her. Her telling me she's just wired like that, but the other people who agree with her mindset are all cheaters. And yet, she felt wrong for doing it, so there was obviously some moral she had about it, and she said if I had done it with her it would have hurt her. That's another lie. She says she wouldn't care and would just want me to tell her she looks prettier than whatever girl I could have looked at. This just feels toxic, and it hurts that I just want respect of her to not go out of her way to search for men she thinks are attractive. She genuinely doesn't think it's a problem and doesn't care about anything she said or did. I wanted to come to a conclusion with her, but she's telling me her answer isn't going to change. I just don't understand. It feels like she wants to be in a monogamous relationship with free will to cheat on me, and it hurts. Am I that bad for wanting my boundaries to be respected and for believing looking at other men, with or without the intention to get their attention, is cheating? Second story. Did I emotionally cheat with assistant? Wife wants divorce. My dear wife, F42, and I, M42, have been married for 11 years. We have 3 kids. I love her. I love our family. I am proud of our marriage. My wife is beautiful, educated, smart, Christian, and truly is a good person. Thanks to a series of investments I made, we are wealthy 9-digit net worth. But this has brought complexity. We have multiple residences in the country and overseas. We have part-time staff working for us, nanny, handyman, wife's assistant. We move nearly once a year, bigger better house. The complexity of our lives has led me to being increasingly frustrated and burdened with all the stuff that's my responsibility. Bills, taxes, cars maintenance, houses maintenance, legal stuff, trust planning, etc., tech home automation issues, booking travel arrangements, etc. My wife is often busy planning parties, social events, vacations. Overwhelmed. Earlier this year I asked my wife if I could hire one long-term full-time personal assistant for myself, in a role similar to my wife's existing assistant. She was initially against it. Eventually she agreed. Long story short, after reviewing 300 resumes, doing 30 phone interviews, making 6 job offers, it was hard to find someone. More precisely, I found a great candidate rather quickly. However, my wife initially refused to hire her because, in her exact words, the candidate is young, thin and pretty, so I'm not comfortable. I sided with my wife and said, no big deal, I care about you being comfortable, so I will try to find someone else. After more time searching for someone qualified, one day without me pressuring to hire the candidate, she saw I struggled in the search and said fine. You can hire the first candidate you had found. But my wife gave me 2 conditions for the hiring. The assistant's position must be short-term, 4 months, until a planned move to a new city. And I must fire the assistant on the spot if my wife felt uncomfortable with her for any reason. She said she feared having an attractive assistant, her words, may entice me to cheat with her. I reassured her I am not attracted to the assistant and I have no history of ever cheating in 11 years. Her conditions seemed reasonable, so I accepted. So this assistant, 34F, unmarried, has a long-term BF, accepts the offer. She is good at the job, so as a boss I praise her a lot. I see the assistant in person at the house on average about 45 to 60 minutes a day. Usually while my wife, nanny, and kids are also present in the house. Most of the day the assistant is working remotely at home or our other houses or running errands, so we communicate mostly via texts. From the beginning, I have always reminded her of the importance of having a good work-life balance, so I promised her I would keep my texts and calls strictly during business hours, 9 am-5 pm. And I do. Rarely I send a single text at like 5:30 or 5:45 p.m. to say don't forget XYZ for tomorrow or just to say good night. About a month in, it becomes obvious to me that the assistant is a high performer. Top 5%. She takes a ton of work off my plate, takes many initiatives, is detail-oriented. Thanks to her, I'm finally able to reclaim some time for my family. I take time to go on a date with my wife. First in many months, not proud of that. I also spend more time with the kids, etc. I realize it would be difficult to find a replacement as good as this assistant, so it would be stupid to keep her only as a short-term employee for 4 months. Furthermore, the assistant starts talking to me about her plans after this job, that she wants to start a venture when the position ends. If my wife eventually changes her mind about accepting to keep the assistant indefinitely, which I think is likely, the assistant may not be available to me anymore, as she has prepared herself to start her new venture. I am distressed just thinking about the effort required to find a similarly skilled assistant. I need to convince my wife to keep her long term, but I know this is impossible right now, as my wife is still somewhat uncomfortable. So monumental mistake number 1. Without consulting my wife, I give the assistant a performance review. Tell her she is doing great overall. Tell her what needs to be improved going forward. I grant her a one-time $1,000 bonus. And I tell her I am extending her position indefinitely, at will, with 2 weeks' notice. In my dumb head, my plan was this would secure the assistant's position past the 4 months, at which point I hope my wife will have changed her mind, so I can ask her if I can keep the assistant. If she says yes, great. If she says no, I fire the assistant because the contract still allows me to. I am dumb, really dumb. On the spot, I think this is a decent plan, but I don't realize I am breaking my wife's trust in me. 2 months go by. The 4-month end date for the role is imminent but not there yet. My wife made a few comments on situations that made her feel uncomfortable. For example, about me sitting too close to the assistant on the sofa for 3 minutes so our thighs would touch while helping her fix a laptop issue. So I promised to never sit on the sofa. Or one slow day, she heard me having a 20-minute discussion, not related to any work task. So I promised to never have such long discussions. When the assistant is at home, I would say she does not act flirty. Her behavior doesn't change whether my wife is around or not. And when my wife sees our interactions, she has made no other remarks. However, my wife still comments occasionally how pretty the assistant is. I reassure my wife it is her I love, and I say I do not think the assistant has ever shown romantic interest in me. I am not attracted to her, even if wife asked me. I can admit she is objectively more attractive than the average person. Anyways, the assistant is still doing great at her job. I still give her great praise. Our texts have become less formal and more relaxed, friendly, playful. I give some examples below. One day my wife noticed on my phone, the assistant sent me a text on a Sunday night. It is a report link which she had forgotten to send on Friday. Wife is suspicious about texting outside business hours, and asks me what this is. I explain. She asked to see my phone. I said sure, I have nothing to hide, here. And she opens her text thread and starts browsing our entire texts, and also email history. My wife becomes furious. She says my texts and emails are completely inappropriate. They show emotional cheating, infidelity, and she wants a divorce. She is not happy with the assistant's texts either, as she sends me many emojis, including smiling face with hearts or blushing face or hearts, never red, but blue, green, orange. Another example, my wife wanted to count the number of heart-like reactions to each other's texts. Since hiring, the assistant sent 25 heart reactions, and I sent 3. I let my wife screenshot all the texts and emails she wanted so she could review one by one. She says she wants a copy of the evidence she could present to her family. We spend hours arguing. Here are the content of some of the texts, ranked roughly from the most to the least inappropriate, according to my wife. Number 1, the email where I told the assistant her position is extended indefinitely and I gave the $1,000 bonus. My wife is upset I made the offer without discussing first, which is understandable. I broke her trust in me. According to my wife, the worst snippets in this email are, "Dear XYZ, you rock. Seriously," or "I have been so pleased with you since you started working," or "the tiniest things you do bring me joy and satisfaction, and you are driven, self-assured, ambitious. You'll do well in life. You are an amazing personal assistant," and unicorn, blushing face. Context: assistant jokingly refers to herself as a unicorn when she accomplishes a difficult task. So we have this inside joke where I sometimes call her a unicorn. My wife also thought the blushing face emoji, blush, in Gmail was inappropriate. Number 2, for a difficult task I gave her, I wrote, "Is this possible? Is there some magic my unicorn can work out?" My wife didn't like the possessive "my" and the inside joke. Unicorn is a pet name. Number 3, while our family was on a 4-week vacation, the assistant stayed behind in town, and I texted her tasks and then "In a week I will be back. I miss seeing you in person," blushing face. My wife says I should not miss another female person. Number 4, in an email I wrote, "In all seriousness, I do want to share a lot about all aspects of my life. Because as I told you one day, it's by knowing all the intricate details of my life that you can best assist me." Smiling face with hearts. My wife did not find the emoji appropriate and disliked that I promised to share all intricate details. I replied, "That's exactly the point of a personal assistant. The more they know about your life, the better they can be at the job." Number 5, as part of a personal stylist type request, the assistant received a delivery of about 20 articles of clothing she researched and bought for me. The assistant, not me, wrote, "Your goodies are also arriving one by one and I'm obsessed." Smiley face with star eyes. I replied, "I smiled when you wrote you were obsessed with my goodies," blushing face. My wife says goodies is a double entendre. Number 6, in general the assistant uses a metric ton of emojis. Blushing faces, smiling faces with hearts, green, blue, yellow hearts, but never a red heart. My wife doesn't like any of the emojis the assistant sends. Part of the problem on my end is that I mirror her emojis. I'd say for every 5 emojis she sends, I send about 1. Number 7, an email where I thanked her for buying about 20 articles of clothing for me. "I love, red heart, your jacket choice, for me." My wife says the red heart emoji was inappropriate. In a subsequent email I write, "All 3 outfit options sound great, I love them." Smiling face with hearts. Again, inappropriate emoji. Number 8, at one public event I attended with my wife, 3 people complimented me for a jacket I was wearing and that the assistant had bought for me. Receiving a fashion compliment has happened only twice to me in my last 20 years, so I was very happy. I told my wife. I also texted the assistant congratulating her about the jacket choice and closed the text with, "You made me feel plus 3 emojis smiling face with hearts." My wife did not like the 3 emojis. Number 9. At one point the assistant was phoning a company's representative, who accidentally thought the assistant was my wife. The assistant reported to me later, "Just FYI, they thought I was your wife." I replied, "Haha, if that's easier procedurally I allow you to pretend to be her." Smiley face. I will tell my wife. She'll get a kick out of this. I told my wife and she did not get a kick, and argued it was completely inappropriate to laugh about this. Number 10, after assistant took care of a car emergency I texted, "Now I can go back to my things, knowing you are on it." Up, blushing face. Number 11, anyways, you got it, girl, thumbs up. My wife says girl is demeaning. Number 12, have a splendid excellent weekend. My wife did not like the adjectives. These excerpts are from around the 500 texts or emails we exchanged over 3 months. To be clear, although my wife has a problem with the content of a few of my texts, I think she recognizes that the vast majority of messages are work-related. In her words, the problem is it's the overall tenderness and sweetness which should be for me the wife, not for your employee. I acknowledge that because my wife felt generally uncomfortable with the assistant, that I should have never been giving her this much tenderness and sweetness. I should have kept our messages strictly professional and formal. I agreed and said this was inappropriate. I apologized about the lie on secretly extending the long-term status behind her back, as this broke her trust in me. Especially because there were at least 2 times during the assistant's employment where my wife asked me to confirm the end date was a particular date, and I lied. Secrecy and deception, she says. I agree. Shame on me. She then asked that I fire the assistant, which I did immediately. But my wife is still saying that these texts and emails alone are emotional cheating and infidelity, her words, and she says she is thinking of the divorce. This is all fresh and happened yesterday. What do you all think? Update. I will not move the money. This wouldn't look good when this eventually comes up as evidence in court. Similarly, if she moves the money, it wouldn't look good for her in court. For the record, I also don't believe my wife is cheating. Although she goes nearly yearly on overseas vacations with a group of 3 men, plus 1 woman, who are longtime college friends. But my intuition tells me they are purely platonic. Thank you for your comment. Talking to a lawyer now may be premature, as right now she's reverted to just considering a trial separation. My wife is a very principled person. I understand her reaction. I would love to repair the damage I have done, but perhaps it is too late. I'm trying to find a couples counselor at the moment. Thank you, and yes, I do want to read that. I am not refusing to accept I push the boundaries. I acknowledge this texting was inappropriate. The assistant regularly texted me good night when logging off at the end of the workday at or around 5 p.m. I reciprocated the good night. Neither her nor me are native English speakers. I got it that goodbye would be better than good night. I did not use unicorn more than twice. All instances are listed above. Our phone calls were infrequent, twice a week, typically less friendly, playful, as we called each other only to discuss long or complex back and forth on tasks. But none of this matters. I know it. I was in the wrong. My question was this inappropriate friendliness, flirting, or emotional cheating, in escalating order?